капитан Хурана, и тоже один из создателей концептуального осмысления морского пространства. Адмирал Джем Гюрдениз – один из создателей концепции «Мави Ватан», то есть «голубой родины». И спасибо, адмирал, что присоединились к нам. Если можно, мы вас слушаем.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me first of all? Let me ask that. I think you are hearing me, right? All right, excellent, excellent. Let me see if I can feed this. Sorry. Just a moment. I think there's a problem of sharing of my presentation, but anyway. Just a moment. Can you see the presentation now? No.
Yes, we can see.
Okay. But I can't see it. I think there is a problem. Let me see again. Just a moment. Okay, here we go. Right. First of all, thank you very much, Imema, for inviting me to this very prestigious symposium. And by this opportunity, I recall Admiral Gorshko with great respect. When I was lieutenant in the Naval War College, I had read this book. I had learned a lot about the Russian naval history and the Gorshkov's navy, how to become ocean-going navy, how to become a very strong navy during the Cold War era. And now I will talk about the, of course, Mavi Vatan and maritime geopolitics of Turkey within the next 20 minutes. And first of all, before going through my presentation, I would like to summarize what the Blue Homeland or Mavi Vatan is. Mavi Vatan or Blue Homeland is a symbol, it's a definition and a doctrine. It's a symbol of maritimization of Turkey in the 21st century. It's a definition of Turkish maritime jurisdiction areas, declared or undeclared. And the third one is the doctrine of to develop Turkish maritime power as well as sea power. It's a kind of a defensive, realist approach for Turkey's general geopolitics. It's again a defensive doctrine in order to prevent Turkey's push against the land, against the continent. And it's a manifest against the dictations by United States and European Union over Turkey about, first of all, about future maritime jurisdiction areas of Turkey in Aegean Sea as well as in the Mediterranean Sea. There is a big rift going on with Turkey, Cyprus, and Greece. And let me show you a picture of Turkey's maritime geopolitics within the scope of the Mavi Vatan doctrine. Turkey is a peninsular state with 83 million people, and we have a coastline more than 4,500 nautical miles, and also a maritime jurisdiction area right about 462,000 square kilometers. Our foreign trade depends over the seas almost 89%, and seaborne cargo handled in 2020 in Turkish ports about 450 million tons. And the oil and byproducts crossed Turkish straits in 2019, mainly the Russian oil coming from the Novorossiysk, was about 145 million tons. The Black Sea, in terms of the maritime domains that Turkey is encircled, may be the least problematic and safe and sound in terms of the delimitation issues. We already established the Continental Shelf and EEZ with the neighboring countries in 1980 and 86 respectively. And thanks to the Montreal Convention since 1936 has established some sort of a maritime security regime, which is good for the world peace and tranquility in the region. Despite the recent rift and the recent development in the Black Sea, still Montreal Convention is the #1 guardian of the status quo and tranquility in the region, thanks to these limitations regarding the ships' passages and ships' types and the ships' durations in the Black Sea. Thanks to, again, Montreal Convention and Turkey's positive role during the Cold War, we were able to establish the BSEC, Black Sea 4, and Black Sea Harmony, and Black Sea Coast Guard Cooperation Forum. And thanks to the all neighbors, all littorals cooperation atmosphere, we lived after the demise of the Soviet Union during the post-Soviet era, that each littorals were so friendly and constructive. And I wish this constructive atmosphere environment returns again. But when we come to the Aegean Sea, I'm not that optimistic. I'm not that, let's say, hopeful for the future, because with Greece, starting after the 1955, we had a difficult time. And in the last 3 days, this difficult time reached a sort of a peak. We have maritime issues, real major maritime issues regarding first continental shelf, territorial waters, militarized islands, and islands of sovereignty not ceded to Greece through treaties. These are the main issues. This map shows how Greece sees the continental shelf share in the Aegean, left-hand side, and the right-hand side shows the Turkish claim, which is fair and equal. We are not demanding any island's territory, rather than their territorial waters belongs to Greece. But Greece gives every island the full continental shelf, and here is the result. You know, the whole Aegean Sea becomes a Greek lake, which is unacceptable, of course. International waters or high seas in the Aegean Sea is a different issue. When the Lausanne Treaty was signed in 1923, the 75% of the waters of the Aegean was international waters, which is Mare Nostrum. But in 1936, they were unilaterally expanded their waters from 3 nautical miles to 6 nautical miles. And 1964, Turkey expanded to 6 nautical miles. Here is the result of today, which is applicable today. 49% of the international, of the Aegean Sea is the international waters, which Russian merchant fleet and Russian Navy also utilizes, enjoys this freedom of navigation. Only the blue part is the free access from Çanakkale Strait to Mediterranean Sea. Other areas, as you will see, is blocked by the Greece territorial waters. But still, this is the current situation. But if Greece expands territorial waters from 6 nautical miles to 12 nautical miles, here is the result. In the right-hand side, you will see you cannot access freely from the Çanakkale Straits to Mediterranean Sea. It's, you become landlocked. It's all Greece territorial waters. And so they have the full sovereignty, full authority to stop, to impede the freedom of navigation. So this is the main issue between the two nations. And other issue, as I said at the beginning, that the militarized status, demilitarized status of the islands, sovereignty of these islands, you will see each group of the islands from the different treaties. And unfortunately, Greece violated the demilitarized status of these islands. They built the air bases with the jet fighters and the heavy arms from the army to special forces to marine forces. And therefore, Turkey has every right to bring this issue to the United Nations Security Council, because sovereignty of these islands were transferred to Greece under the condition of demilitarization. And this is a real issue right now. And the other issue is the 150 rocks and small islets and islands. Their sovereignty were not ceded to Greece by the major treaties, as two nations leave the climax of the conflict in 1996 with the İMİA or Kardak crisis in the southwest Turkey. And the Mediterranean is maybe the most, let's say, volatile and most a la mode issue right now because of the recent developments since 2010. In fact, the Mediterranean Sea is the smallest seas of the world, 1% of the overall oceans, but the busiest, one of the busiest, because 30% of the world shipping crosses the Mediterranean Sea, and also 20% of the world seaborne oil shipping, and mainly the Russian import and exports through the Turkish Straits are crossing this very important sea. For the Turkey's geopolitical perspective, there are three centers of gravity. First one, European Union as well as United States push or challenge over Turkish maritime jurisdiction areas, what we call the Sevilla map, to be imposed on Turkey. And the second issue, the potentiality of a so-called independent puppet Kurdistan with free access to the Mediterranean Sea, which is, of course, unacceptable for the Turkey's overall geopolitics. And the third issue is the future of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus and the geopolitical implications over Anatolia and the guarantee agreement. And of course, Eastern Mediterranean became a hotspot, mainly after the discovery of the gas deposits after the 1990s with the Israeli, Egyptian, and Greek Cypriot discoveries. But this issue for the Blue Homeland or Mavi Vatan doctrine is less important than the geopolitics. Geopolitics is the main driver. Look at the geopolitics right now. The left-hand side is the Greek and Cypriot claims over the maritime jurisdiction areas of Greece and Greek Cypriots. And look what they're content with the Turkish areas. They are pushing Turkey into the land. This is exactly the same situation applying to the Russia. This is the famous rivalry between the maritime powers and land powers. They consider Turkey as the land, and they push Turkey out of the sea. They deprived Turkey from the sea, Mediterranean and Aegean Sea. In the right-hand side, you see the fair share of Turkey of the maritime jurisdiction area, especially in the Mediterranean Sea. These are the coordinates our foreign ministry gave the United Nations in 18 March 2020. And for instance, I would like to give you a very stark example of how Greece exploiting the UNCLOS and pushing Turkey out of the sea. The existence of Castellorosi or Mace in Turkish island with 9-kilometer coastline versus 1,600-kilometer coastline of Anatolian southern coastline, you will see how big share they are taking, a chunk of the area, almost 50,000 square kilometers for this island they can demand. This is, of course, unimaginable, legal-wise and ethic-wise as well. And especially the same applies to the Greek Cypriots. They consider themselves not a continent state, not an island state, sorry, but a continent state. And therefore, the issues in Mediterranean Sea becomes a real problem for the stability in the area. Look at these EU websites. They are all using this infamous Sevilla map, which landlocks Turkey into the Anatolia, deprive Turkey geopolitically from the seas. And Greek Cypriot infringements caused the deterioration of the, let's say, peaceful coexistence in the region. Since 2010, they started the exploitation of the areas. And as you will see, they declared these licensed areas in 2009. They created a regional havoc in the area, especially this dark pink area. It specifies the area overrides with the Turkish continental shelf, and Turkey does not permit any infringements on these areas as well. And this issue, therefore, Greek Cypriot problematic approach, making the Cyprus Islands an international power projection base for EU, for United States, for any other, let's say, powers that creates the, let's say, a very volatile situation in the area. And Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus rights are disregarded in terms of the maritime resources exploitation. And that creates a multifaceted and multi-directional conflict. and proceeding and transforming the Cyprus issue into a new one at the seafront. Right now, I can say the Cyprus issue is transcended to a maritime issue. And therefore, from domestic problems in an island into complex sovereignty disputes among Turkey, Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, Greece, and Greek administration of Southern Cyprus, which creates a very difficult to solve a situational problem. The formation of anti-Turkish coalition continues under the 6 different, let's say, schema or approaches, and involvement of France with the direct military, let's say, means, and also extension of the United States-Greece defense pact in the last October, including the base, rentals, as well as the military buildup in the Alexandroupolis and the Crete Islands. These are very dangerous and very unstable or provoking the stability in the area development. And in Turkey, most of the public opinion sees these issues, the encirclement of Turkey, because Turkey is right now is questioning its role of the Cold War era as a rimland country to contain Soviet Union. But after the Cold War, Turkey has changed, and Turkey's approach to relations with Russia, relations with China has changed. But still, Turkey would like to be seen by the Atlantic camp to be the guardian of the rimland, but the things are changing. And therefore, Turkey is being encircled by the most of the NATO countries right now. And therefore, most of the people considers these issues as the second CER. First CER of 1920 carve out the motherland, and the second one carve out the blue homeland, as you will see from the map to the left. So this is the map issued in 2014 by the Iraqi Kurds, the Barzani website. As you will see, they dream a huge puppet Kurdistan with the reach to the sea, taking the Turkish Bay of Iskenderun for their geopolitical win. Of course, it's a visionary map, but this is their vision. So the blue homeland theory considers Turkey as a peculiar state on the way to become a maritime state in the 21st century, and also considers that the turn of the new millennium and the 21st century, tectonic changes in the world order is taking place. And therefore, I will say that a new Turkey in the 21st century, in the Aegean age, as well as maritime age, there will be a new Turkey. And this Turkey will focus on the maritime, let's say, dimension. And therefore, blue homeland is a geopolitical, let's say, approach for the new Turkey in the 21st century. And it realizes the new geopolitical realities of Turkey in the Eurasian landscape. Turkey's maritime geopolitical needs necessitate, as I said, fast maritimization. And I can say that you will see a maritimized Turkey before the half of the 21st century. And therefore, good and mutually respectful relations with neighbors, as well as other countries, aiming peaceful coexistence, as well as fair share of maritime domain. Thanks for, again, the invitation, and that's my conclusion. Thank you.
Огромное спасибо, адмирал Гюрдениз. Я вижу вопросы в зале. Да, передаю слово Павлу Гудеву.
Да, Алексей, спасибо большое. Да. Адмирал Гюрдениз, во-первых, я благодарю вас за ваше участие в нашем сегодняшнем мероприятии. Честно вам признаюсь, я прекрасно знаком и с вашей позицией, и с вашими статьями, и даже 2 ваши последние книжки лежат у меня дома в библиотеке. Жалко, они на турецком языке. Не могу полностью их прочитать от начала до конца, приходится прибегать к услугам моих коллег и товарищей по работе. У меня несколько вопросов, принципиально отличающихся между собой по тематике. Прежде всего, если мы возьмем акваторию Черного моря, как вы знаете, между Советским Союзом и Республикой Турции были разграничены морские пространства Черного моря еще в 70-80-е годы. Я имею в виду исключительную экономическую зону и континентальный шельф. Потом, когда Украина стала независимым государством, Российская Федерация стала независимым государством, здесь появилась де-факто граница уже между Украиной и Турцией, тоже исключительно экономической зоны и континентального шельфа. Когда Крым стал частью Российской Федерации, ситуация опять-таки диаметрально противоположную сторону поменялась. Здесь стала граница уже между Российской Федерацией и Турцией. Вот мне интересно, а может быть ли потенциально заключено какое-то соглашение дополнительное, да, о том, что Турция признает эту границу, которая была еще установлена в советские годы, 70-80-е, или все-таки Турция будет до сих пор настаивать на том, что Крым – это часть украинской территории? Это первый вопрос по Черному морю. Второй вопрос, касающийся Эгейского моря и спора между Турцией и Грецией относительно морских пространств, их делимитации, статуса островов и так далее, и так далее, и так далее. Это очень обширная, естественно, тема, да. Меня здесь интересует очень простой вопрос. А почему до сих пор Турция не подала иск в международные судебные инстанции, Международный суд ООН или Постоянную палату Третейского суда в Гааге, чтобы урегулировать в рамках этих судебных инстанций международных споров с Грецией? Турция тоже чего-то опасается, она боится правового позитивизма, да, в урегулировании этого спора, что международные судебные инстанции будут опираться только на существующие нормы и положения международного права, и что международные судебные инстанции проигнорируют принцип справедливости. Хотя, с моей точки зрения, я прекрасно понимаю, что турецкая аргументация в этом споре заслуживает, безусловно, уважения. Третий вопрос, касающийся прохода через Черноморские, ну как Турция их называют, через турецкие проливы. Меня интересует такой факт. В 2018 году на уровне турецкого национального законодательства был принят новый регламент прохода через турецкие Черноморские проливы, в рамках которого было зафиксировано, что все гражданские суда, перевозящие военные корабли, будут приравниваться к военным кораблям. И в их отношении будут действовать все предписанные конвенцией Монтрео ограничения как по времени пребывания, по водоизмещению и по классу. Недавно, как мы знаем из новостей, в Украину были доставлены 2 катера на грузовом судне, которые все эти ограничения в рамках конвенции Монтрео в принципе превышало. Что это? Отход Турции от той зафиксированной позиции, которая была зафиксирована вот в новом документе 2018 года. Турция решила еще очередной раз поддержать Украину. И четвертый, наверное, вопрос, касающийся, все-таки я понимаю, что вы пострадали за свою политическую, экспертную позицию, касающуюся строительства нового канала Стамбул, но все-таки не могли бы вы, да, для нашей более широкой аудитории донести все-таки все плюсы и минусы строительства этого нового канала, потому что с моей точки зрения, я считаю, что, безусловно, в конце концов, это приведет к эрозии правового режима Конвенции Монтрео. Спасибо большое.
Спасибо, Павел Андреевич. Я думаю, мы дадим адмиралу Гюрденизу ответить на этот большой пакет достаточно сложных вопросов по глубине проникновения вопросов. Адмирал, вам слово.
Thank you very much. These 4 questions requires another presentation time. Thank you. First of all, let me start with the first question, the Ukraine and Crimea issue. As you know, I'm an independent thinker and I'm not part of the government. I don't talk on behalf of the government. I talk only on behalf of myself. And therefore, for the Crimea issue, the very answer to your question normally should be asked to the Foreign Minister of Turkey. But personally, if you are asking my approach, I will say that of course, Crimea, if you know the history, if you know the struggle between the Ottoman Navy and the Russian Navy, the Katerina, the Peter the Great, and the many wars fought between Russia and Turkey, most of the wars stemmed from the fact that the control of the Crimea. And therefore, as personal, as an intellectual individual, I will say that the Crimea is part of the Russia. And of course, there are major geopolitical, let's say, ramifications over the Crimea. because of the Khrushchev's decision in the late 1940s. But I am sure if this issue was not provoked by the United States and by the NATO in the 2014, I am sure the Kharkiv agreement would last until 2046, and Ukraine and Russia would live peacefully together, because I always said that every nation should understand and should respect the other nation's geopolitical sensitivities and geopolitical needs. And I have been in Sevastopol as a navigator of the Turkish warship in the Gorbachev time, 1990 August. And I was very impressed by the geography of the Crimea and the bases in Sevastopol and Balaklava and other places. And I knew that this heartland of the Russian Black Sea as well as Solmedron Mediterranean fleet. And therefore, Kharkiv agreement was signed. I was so, let's say, hopeful for the future, at least that would not create another rift between Ukraine and Russia. And I consider them as the brothers, big brothers of each other, like England and America. But unfortunately, things have changed because the Ukraine were open to provocations by the US. And therefore, it's very unfortunate that this stability has changed and this peaceful coexistence has changed. And I personally think that Turkey should understand and they should value the geopolitical sensitivities of Russia. And also, Russia should understand the Ukrainians' approach for their independent countries' geopolitical needs. And therefore, my answer to your question is so simple, that the Turkish Minister of Foreign Affairs right now still considers the Crimea as a part of the Ukraine. And therefore, I don't know what in the future they will decide for the delimitation of the Turkish-Russian EEZ borders in the area. For the second question, ICJ issue, Greece doesn't recognize the ICJ for the bringing all these Aegean-related issues to the ICJ. And Greece considers only one problem with Turkey, which is the continental shelf delimitation. In 1976, both countries had signed the Bern Memorandum of Understanding in order not to conduct any seismic or drilling activities in the international waters, and still this MOU is active, and therefore it prevents the actual, let's say, conflict rising in the area. But again, for the other issues, the territorial waters, the demilitarized status of islands, and the EMEA Kardak-like island status, Greece doesn't recognize the authority of the ICJ. They gave the, let's say, their reservation many years ago. And the third one, the passage of the ships under the Montreal Convention of 2018. I think, again, this question's answer is not cannot be answered by me, because it's an evaluation of the Turkish Minister of Foreign Affairs. If you ask me this question before 2011, when I was in active service, of course, I can give you the rationale, but I don't know what the Turkish MFA rationale is for this implication. And personally, I am not favoring Turkey's, let's say, support or sided or biased status with Ukraine in terms of the military issues, in terms of the military conflict between the Russia and Ukraine. Turkey, for my idea, should not be part of the military issues between the two countries. But for the economical, technical, sociological, every cooperation with Ukraine should be, of course, promoted. But for the military conflicts between the two neighboring countries, I am against it. This is my personal idea. And the fourth one, the last question, the Istanbul Canal. From the beginning, I'm against it. Everybody knows it. And I gave the many interviews in the Wall Street Journal, BBC, and why I'm against it, many whys. First, the environmental, topography, and the maritime environment. The Marmara Sea is dying, and if this canal happens, the Marmara Sea will be overall dead. And maybe you will remember that in the last summer we have seen the decaying of the Marmara Sea with the mucilage. And therefore, when the canal is open, this is going to be exacerbated because the Western Black Sea, because of the Danube pollution, is already very polluted, and this all polluted waters will flow through the Marmara Sea. And environmentally, again, it's the biggest challenge to topography and the agricultural resources of the Thrace. And the second issue is the population, let's say, intensity. We are creating some sort of a small island with the artificial canal with 8 million people living, and also we are restricting their movements with the 6 bridges to the west. We already have 3 bridges to the east, so we are creating a sociologically problematic area. This is my approach again, I would like to add. And the third one, of course, the Montreux Wise. I think it might affect the Montreux Convention because of it disintegrates the integrated body of the Montreux Convention, the definition of the Turkish Straits, the Marmara Sea, the Bosphorus and Dardanelles, Istanbul and Çanakkale Straits. This is an integral thing, and so you are disintegrating with the inclusion of a new canal, so it might create some sort of a new, let's say, justification for bringing over the issue of Montreux Convention, which I consider the sine qua non for the security, stability, and the peaceful coexistence in the Black Sea. Thanks again for your questions. If you have any further, I'm ready.
Thank you, sir, for your excellent answers.
Большое спасибо, адмирал Гюрдениз. Коллеги, если у кого-нибудь есть короткие вопросы, да, конечно, я буду сейчас просто вынужден воспользоваться потом властью модератора, потому что иначе у нас не хватит времени ни на кого. Все настолько интересно.
Ну, вопрос короткий. Значит, был прецедент недавний острова Змеиный по пересмотру, так сказать, экономической зоны Украины в сторону, соответственно, экономической зоны Румынии. На основании того, что остров Змеиный был признан в арбитраже скалой нежилой, и поэтому, как, грубо говоря, значит, предыдущее, так сказать, положение, которое было в стране при Советском Союзе, изменилось. Как этот прецедент повлиял на позиции Турции в его собственных вопросах?
Turkey, yes. I think the decision of ICJ in this island favors Turkey's position in the Aegean Sea. And as you will recall, and the position of the island in the wrong side and the proportionality of the coastal lines these are the issues that Turkey always favors, always insists in the Aegean Sea. And therefore, when this decision was promulgated, the Greece was so upset. And therefore, I think this issue is good for Turkey's future, let's say, justification in the Aegean issues. Thank you.
У нас имеется несколько вопросов в чате, каковы сейчас будут переданы.
Да, адмирал Гюрдениз, вы видите эти вопросы? Просто ли мне их вам зачитать?
I can see it. All right, just a moment.
Окей, тогда если вас не затруднит, прям кратко, ладно, окей?
Okay, the Libya agreement, will the monetary restriction apply to the new project? I already answered this, and you know, how can you explain the agreement between Turkey and Libya? This is a very important issue that the Libya and Turkey has the, you know, corresponding, let's say, shorelines, according to the Turkish Admiral Cihat Yaycı's approach, which I support, and there are 16 nautical mile joint borderline between the Benghazi versus the Turkish area of Fethiye, and therefore this is morphologically, topographically, oceanographically it's a correct approach, and which Greece, you know, that is totally against it. But if you take this issue to the ICJ under a very technical, let's say, expertise jurisdiction, I am sure this Libya agreement will have the support. But unfortunately, as Russia suffers from the same problem, the world right now is under the effect of the Atlantic system, and therefore we are very open to the Atlantic propaganda regarding the very important MOU between Libya and Turkey. But we have to resist, we have to stick to this agreement until to the end. And the other one, the November Spanish Prime Minister Sanchez Erdogan said the first aircraft carrier was not a large-scale one. We have agreed on the construction of large-scale carrier. Why Turkey wants to build a new, larger aircraft carrier? Does Turkey have a real need for another ship of this type? I think like Admiral Gorshkov. Let me talk with the Admiral Gorshkov's approach. We are not landlocked country. The Turkey is a Mediterranean littoral, but Mediterranean is only 1% of the world oceans. Why Turkey should not go outside the Mediterranean Sea? This is my question in the 21st or 22nd centuries. Because imagine until the 1700s, Russia was a totally landlocked power thanks to the Peter the Great. He made the Russian people maritimized, and then Gorshkov, thanks to him again. And you know, every nation has the right to reach the oceans. Why? For instance, Italians have 2 aircraft carriers. Spain has aircraft carriers. France has a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. And we are talking about a large country. Maybe we are not a continental power, right, Russia, but we are a regional power, 83 million of people with a wonderful geography and a very hardworking people of Turkey. And also, Turkey has many business interests worldwide. Why Turkish Navy couldn't protect the Turkish citizens in the future, in the Far East, in the Caribbean, in the Western, let's say, African coast? Turkish Navy should be present wherever, when and where needed. The Turkish government's power is needed. And therefore, I don't see any, let's say, illogical approach why Turkey should not have, I'm not talking about the Nimitz-class aircraft carrier. I'm not talking about the Kuznetsov class, a huge aircraft carrier. I'm talking about the small one, like the one that we are building right now, the Anadolu. And that can be, that should be taught for the future. Turkey, as I said, in the 21st century should be a maritime state. And if Turkey becomes a maritime state, of course, Turkey should be present in at least in the periphery, in the Red Sea, in the Persian Gulf, in the Arabian Sea, and especially in the maybe the Indo-Pacific. Why not? Because we also represent the Turkic world as well. Their import, their export through Turkey is increasing, and Turkey needs to go outside of the Mediterranean Sea, and that should be the vision of the maritime state of Turkey. And the other one, Mavi. How would you assess the significance of maritime as near Western Eastern Africa in the frame for naval strategy? Yes, I already said the answer. And yes, if we consider in the future that the strong Turkish Navy cooperating with the world powers in order to secure the maritime security in every area, like we did in the Somalia, of the Aden, of the Yemen coast, in the piracy threat was so high. For instance, why don't Turkey, Russia, or any other NATO countries could establish a joint patrol in the Bay of Guinea, off the Nigeria? Maybe you will recall a week ago, a Danish corvette or Danish frigate seized 4 pirates in the area operating independently. For instance, the Gulf of Guinea is becoming a hotspot for the piracy. At least there might be the future areas that need to be the international, let's say, reaction. And therefore, I consider in the future that the Turkish Navy should play a major role regarding the international answers to the rising international problems in the maritime security. I think that's it. Thank you very much again for the invitation and for this wonderful questions.
Thank you, Admiral. Когда адмирал Гюрдениз говорил о турецком взгляде на Средиземноморье, я подумал о том, что у нас на самом деле два последних доклада очень хорошо соотносятся друг с другом. Потому что, в общем, и Индо-Пацифика в индийском понимании, и Средиземноморье являются частью одного большого морского пространства, через которое проходит огромный путь с востока на запад. То есть нам тут не хватает только еще специалистов по Южно-Китайскому морю, но их мы увидим завтра. А сейчас давайте перенесемся в другую часть Мирового океана, а именно в Южную Атлантику. Ей в последнее время уделяется очень мало внимания, в отличие от Индо-Пацифики. Я хочу пригласить уважаемого Марселу Безера, я не ошибся, выступить. Большое спасибо. Да, конечно.